All right, Jeff, you ready?
I was born ready.
Okay. So, sorry to start a few minutes late, obviously technology issues. Second of all, I'm not going to wear a mask just because I've got complaints that people can't hear me. So we'll go ahead and call the Warren County Election Board meeting of September 9th to order. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes from August 12th?
I have.
Could I have a motion to approve them?
I will make a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion
No
made.
second.
Motion seconded. Further discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. No old business on the agenda. There are several updates, though, and action items on the agenda. We'll start with Eldred Township and Farmington Township moving their polling places. That'll turn it over to the elections director.
Okay, so Eldred Township is currently at their Eldred Township building. They're kind of stuck in the garage. You know, it's going to be cold this winter, so they've asked if they could be moved to the Grand Valley Fire Hall. The fire hall is okay with it. More space, probably better handicap accessible and all that. And it is a fire department. And then Farmington, basically they've always been at the Lander Fire Hall. Well, the Lander Fire Hall has moved from Miller Hill to Route 957 because they moved into where the Chase auction thing is, and that's going to be where the new fire hall is. So it's just basically moving with the fire hall to the the polling place with the fire hall.
Okay. Do you have the addresses handy for those?
Let's see. The fire hall for Farmington will be 5555 Route 957 in Russell.
Okay.
And the Grand Valley Fire Hall is 12864 Route 27 Grand Valley.
All right. Any questions for Lisa? If not, I would ask for a motion to approve the moving of two polling places, Eldred Townships to 12864 Route 27 Grand Valley, and Farmington Townships to 555 Route 957 in Russell.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made and
No
seconded.
second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next, proposal for...
Can I interrupt?
Yeah.
While we're on polling places, Warren South, for whatever reason, doesn't want to be at St. Joe's anymore, and the judge of election has taken it upon herself to contact St. John's Lutheran Church in Pleasant Township to possibly move it there. I feel that it worked fine in the spring. I don't really want to move another polling place and move that polling place again. And quite honestly, she was pretty much out of her realm of responsibility by even contacting them, because it's actually up to the Board of Elections to pick out polling places. So I am in favor of writing, having the standing or the Commissioner's office as the Board of Elections write her a letter and say, we're going to be at Warren West, at the same location as Warren West, which is St. Joe's, and let's just leave it alone for now. Maybe in the future we can look at something else, but on the south side there really isn't a whole lot of buildings besides the cancer center and the hospital, and that would just be totally irresponsible to have a polling place in either one of those two places with the COVID situation like it is. So I suggest let's write her a letter and say,
Right.
Reconfirming.
So-
Plus, everybody was there in the primary, so they're
Right.
used to going.
right,
So there's no one on the election board that wishes to entertain changing the location for Warren South, correct?
That's correct. My part.
Yeah, I think that my only perspective on it is that we've tried to look everywhere we can, and we can't find an alternative. If an alternative was presented that was attractive, I think that we would support that, but we haven't been able to find that. So at this stage, a month and a half, a little over a month and a half out from the election, I don't know that there's anything else we can do.
and I have talked to my liaison at the Department of State, and if there isn't anything available within the municipality, and because she's a Warren City precinct, it'd be in Warren City that we could move her. Moving her to a location in Pleasant Township, I think it would be like totally confusing for all the voters of Pleasant Township, because now you're gonna have two different polling places, and really, according to my, liaison to Department of State, it's not wise to move it out of the municipality. So we need to keep it within Warren City if we're gonna move it anywhere.
Okay,
I would just add that under the law, if it, if there's nowhere feasible within the municipality, the municipality is the city of Warren, there must be somewhere within the city of Warren available, and therefore I just think a move to Pleasant Township wouldn't be available under the law. And speaking as someone on the south side, moving the voting location 2 elections in a row I would discourage that.
especially going into general. All right, sounds like we are resolved that we will not be moving the polling place at this time, and would ask the solicitor to send a letter and copy us saying basically cease and desist looking. We're going to be continuing on with having it at St. Joe's.
Maybe we'll
Maybe look at it in the future.
We'll deliver a copy of the minutes of the meeting at some point.
Sure.
With the vote.
Yeah.
So, we're just not gonna take a vote, so
No.
I'll send a letter. It's fine.
Very good. Thank you. Next, proposal for additional staffing during the general election. We actually just created, 2 positions in the salary board in advance of this meeting. The same positions that we created for the elections office in the spring in order to help for those, I believe, 8 weeks leading up to the election. About 8 weeks. And then for the day of, correct me if I'm wrong, 6 positions to help with pre-canvassing, canvassing, that sort of thing. So that's, I guess, more or less an announcement because the salary board already acted on that this morning.
Does the board need to, there's no one ready to hire yet.
No, and I think we would just vest the hiring authority in Lisa. So,
Right.
I think we would normally do.
And the Department of State has this new thing on their website, it's called a co-worker interest form,
Okay.
and I have like 17 of them in my inbox right now, so maybe I can find someone from there. The 2 ladies that worked last year, the one is going to come back, the other one, she's got a vacation plan, so just feel like she can leave us in the lurch by going on vacation, leaving us without us, so she's kind of backed out, so I will have to find another person for those 2, so.
Very good. Update on policies and procedures.
Well, do we need to do anything with this truck rental, Ben?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay, I was just thinking, part of Lisa's proposal included a truck rental and delivery of the bags to polling locations. And I would guess that needs to be acted on here.
I'll let Jeff speak to the truck, because that was actually his idea. It was just, instead of people using personal vehicles to go out and deliver stuff, just put it on the truck. I know he had sent an email to Matt, but I don't know if he ever heard back from him. And as far as the bags, I mean, there's only like 3 precincts that I'd have to get the precinct key to them, but I don't see any reason why we couldn't deliver the bags to the polling places with the machines. Some already are, like Southwest Township, they've always had their bags delivered with their machines. Last spring we had a few, that were doing the same thing, so I don't really see a problem with that. But as far as the truck rental, I'm gonna let Jeff speak on that, because that was.
Well, and if I might, I don't think there's anything really to vote on here. It's
That was
just-
my question.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're talking a couple $100, it would be under any threshold. Just find whether U-Haul or Penske is cheaper, and get estimates on rental of a truck and make it happen. It sounds like a great solution to the problem. Any disagreement?
No, that's.
I mean, I didn't see any response. My only concern was whether the truck would be able to get to every polling location the day before.
Yeah, logistically, I mean, it takes 2 routes basically of 6 hours each, so you could do that in 12 hours. Well, that's not counting the city, you could just hit the city really easily.
Right. Right,
Yeah, I
usually we
don't
get the jail van, and Matt takes the jail van and does his route, and then Randy does so much with his truck, and then he comes back and gets more, and then he goes out again, so.
Yeah, so actually it'd be a little bit more efficient, so I think you could cover it in a day.
Okay.
Pretty comfortably. All right, anything else? And on to policy and procedures. The board is pleased to announce that we have our first two procedures. By way of quick explanation, the county's policy, procedure, and instruction manual will be structured in this way. Policies that apply to all employees are going to be separate, and that would be replacing sort of the employee handbook we previously had, which is to say that those policies that are in the employee handbook will be updated, and a few more will be added to it. And again, those would be policies that would apply to all. And then we have more narrowly policies, procedures, and instructions that pertain to each individual office. And generally speaking, the numbering system is based off of the chart of accounts that's associated with fiscal. So for instance, account section 20, I'm not sure if you'd call that, Eric, is elections and voter registration. And so the first procedure that we identified pertained to federal primary elections, and then the second one, federal general elections. We obviously worked on these first because of the importance given the upcoming election. The purpose is to standardize and identify all of the primary tasks and steps that need to happen in order to successfully complete the federal election. So the next step will be to, what we did was we had the purpose of the department, the purpose of the procedure, the scope of the procedure, the responsibilities of everyone involved, the Board of Elections, elections director, election staff, the judge of elections, inspectors, rovers, constables, and contracted election support. Then we listed in the references all relevant statutes and laws and policies, starting with the U.S. Constitution and working all the way down to the county code, and also including Dominion's and Pennsylvania Department of State guides. Documents simply references the other related documents. We'll be creating several instructions and forms, which are all now numbered, including logic and accuracy, processing batches, opening and closing the polls, referendums, etc., and forms for voter registration and such. So we've made some definitions, and then the procedure starts in January and works down through each month with every significant step that needs to be taken. And then finally we have change history, or if they're updated in the future, we know what version is the most correct version, and authorization signed by the election board. So we completed the first two. There are more procedures to come, of course. Probably by January we'll want to approve procedures 3 and 4, which would most logically be pertaining to the municipal primary and generals, and then number 5 would be pertaining to voter registration. Then underneath each of those procedures would be a large number of instructions. I listed the ones for this. They would be very similar. Many of them will be duplicative, but again, those would be sub-instructions. So on here, by way of example, one of the logic and accuracy instruction, for instance, is just listed as that. It would be more in detail, say that's 20 steps or something like that. That instruction would be listing all those 20 steps. The Board of Elections will approve the procedures, and the elections director would be the one that's responsible for keeping the instructions up to date. And in that way, there's kind of a check and balance. I mean, the overall election procedure can't be changed without the Board of Elections weighing in. But if, for instance, Dominion did an update to the software or something like that, Lisa would have the authority to just change it without necessarily letting anyone know, since it doesn't pertain to anyone other than her staff. So with that, I would ask for the approval of the first procedures for the county, which would be 2001 federal primary elections and 2002 federal general elections.
I will make that motion.
Motion made,
I'll second.
motion seconded. Lisa, I want to thank you very much for putting an effort into this. I mean, I know it's critical that we get it done before the election. At the same time, I know this is a very busy time for you, so I appreciate that you fit it in when you could. And we'll look forward to seeing those instructions in the coming weeks so that we're prepared for the general election. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor of approving the two procedures before us, please state aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Update on election litigation. For that, I'll turn it over to Attorney Schmidt.
Actually, I'll just, I had provided just some comments on that, nothing substantive to change those procedures, so.
I think the board's vote took your version. Maybe the version in front of us is not actually the updated version, but I know you
Okay,
guys
so
will
it's
check
just
this.
okay, because I asked, okay.
Is that fair for everyone?
Yeah,
We're
that's
accepting
fine.
Nathaniel's
Absolutely,
edits.
certainly.
Okay, very good.
Yep.
Yeah, I want to thank Lisa too. I think what Lisa did in preparing that protocol is, it's a model, it's something that the citizens of Warren can be proud of, and it could be a model for other counties. I think it's a great safeguard to ensure the integrity of the processes here, so thank you.
So thank you.
Update on election litigation. I'm going to take mine off to talk here as well. Just last night, there were, I think I reported earlier that the federal litigation, which the Donald J. Trump campaign and some other members of Congress running for re-election started in federal court after some pleadings and discovery intervention by other parties. Judge Nicholas Ranjan from the Western District, he basically put the case on as a stay because the state court case had been filed in Commonwealth Court by some other Democratic lawmakers. He left it open in his order the possibility that a party could request relief by October 5th if the state court hadn't done anything. So the Donald J. Trump campaign actually filed a motion fairly promptly after that, and they had requested essentially a preliminary injunction asking the federal judge to issue an order requiring boards of elections to keep separate any ballots that were deposited in deposit boxes, any ballots that were delivered that were naked ballots, that were not in secrecy envelopes. That motion was met with a lot of opposition by the other parties to the suit because the state court case specifically is the requests for the court, for the Pennsylvania court to say that drop boxes can be used and that naked ballots can be counted. So just last night, Judge Ranjan issued an opinion and order denying the Trump campaign's relief for their request for a preliminary injunction. So on the state court side, there was a request made by some of the Democratic lawmakers to have the case heard by the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania under their King's Bench jurisdiction because of the importance of the case. It's rarely invoked in the regular course of events, but it's been invoked a number of times since COVID, and now with these election matters. So everyone's anticipating that the Pennsylvania Supreme Court has even stated in the opinion issued last night by Judge Ranjan that the Pennsylvania Supreme Court will act timely to make rulings on these issues. I would not be surprised if, notably, the Trump campaign requested to intervene in the state case and they were denied. Would not surprise me if the Trump campaign possibly files an appeal to the Third Circuit from the denial of their request for a preliminary injunction. So We're waiting for a decision from the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. We're going to see if there's any more developments on the federal side. So the question is, the question that remains outstanding about whether or not to use drop boxes or whether or not to count naked ballots. At this point in time, I'm just asking, we're basically going to see, our Board of Elections doesn't have to commit to a certain path. With a more conservative approach is to, because the drop boxes aren't specifically recited in the election code, is probably to shy away from them. They're not necessary. We have good facilities as they are. And to basically avoid for any further discovery requests or put ourselves more in the middle of this litigation by proposing activities that certain campaigns are objecting to that we don't have to use to run the election well.
Okay, agreement with that?
Yeah, that's your update.
Okay. No action needed then this time.
No action needed.
Anything else?
The people that have been calling in have been asking if there's a drop box, and I'm telling them no, they have to bring them to my office, and I'm being very specific that you have to bring your ballot, your husband has to bring his ballot. I can't accept, your husband's ballot from your hand. So I've been really reiterating that to the voters that have been calling in. I've also been really telling them two important things. Put your ballot in the secrecy envelope and fill out your voter declaration on the back. And your voter declaration is simple as sign your name, print your name and date it with the address. It's not your birth date, it's the day you fill it out. They will be postage paid, as we all know. And I've just been really kind of pounding that home to everybody I talk to. Secrecy envelope, voter declaration, if you want your ballot to be counted. I've just been really, really on that. Just a quick update on the ballots. They are ready. My ballots have been approved by my liaison, the Department of State. Right now, we have not received our ballot certification from the Department of State, and we cannot send out any ballots until we do. The holdup is the candidates for president and vice president under the Green Party are still in litigation. So until we know more, they're not going to give us our certification to be able to start things. I'm getting tons of phone calls every day. Well, I filled out my application 2 months ago. Where's my ballot? And so I'm having to explain all this to them. So, I'm just trying to be as detailed with everybody as I possibly can. It's better to, if they're gonna get to a point where they have to cut it off and say, okay, we're gonna leave them on. It's better to leave them on and then have a posting either in the envelopes that go out to the voters or the polling places saying, this person has been removed from the ballot. It's easier to do that than take them off, find out they have to stay on, and then you're backtracking and redoing ballots for people. So I don't know what their timeline is. I know they're trying to push to, because right now I have roughly 15, almost 1,600 ballots in the queue, labels to print, and that's just the ones that Crystal and I have processed. They're either online or ones that come in the mail. That's not including the ones that in the spring wanted permanent and the ballot label was already generated. I'm not going to print anything, labels or ballots, until I get the all clear from the Department of State. They're going to do a data cleanup in the SURE system. I believe it's 9/11, and that's supposed to go through and pick up any address changes, any name changes, so that when we do print the ballots, they're going to be correct. Some counties have found that the permanent ones that from the spring, that the ballot label didn't work right, so then they don't have a label for some of these permanent people that voted in the spring and wanted to vote followed by mail-in or absentee. So that's supposed to be in that cleanup too. So yeah, we're supposed to get the ballots out by next week. So
Well, September 11th is what?
Friday. So hopefully they'll run it Friday night and we'll get the all clear by Monday to start getting this stuff out. I mean, And then the last thing, and I'll shut up, the ballot, the envelope opener from Pitney Bowes came just this morning. It's still in the box in my office. I'm sure somebody will be coming to give me some training on it, but it's here, so.
Good.
And I'm still waiting for my envelope orders from Gina's Graphics. I ordered paper from them. And then this election, we have to either have it printed on the ballot or stamp it on the ballot, whether it's mail-in or absentee ballot. So I've ordered stamps for that, because I'm not gonna have 2 sets of ballots. You know, that would just be too much. So we're gonna have 1 set of ballot, we're gonna just stamp them, whether absentee or mail-in.
Okay.
Okay?
Now, do you think that there's any need for additional Board of Elections meetings? I think the next one would be,
In a
say,
month.
Wednesday of-
Not that I don't see anything coming down the pike that I would need it, but unless something with litigation comes through, we may have to talk about.
We can call an executive session to discuss litigation.
Right.
I mean, it's turbulent waters, and we would not be out of the way to mention that there's discussion about, last minute legislation that will change,
Right.
certain deadlines. So, a lot of moving targets.
Exactly. Sometimes they're hard to hit.
All right. There's nothing more, no other updates from either of you? Anything more from the Board of Elections? I'd ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
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 All right, the Elections Board is over. Now I will open it up to a public hearing for CDBG funds. For that, I'll turn it over to Lori Dunlap.
Thank you very much. And the county will again receive CDBG funds for fiscal year 2020 in the amount of $245,852. The commissioners received 3 eligible projects to select for funding. There wasn't sufficient funding to fund all 3, so they selected to fund the replacement of the sanitary sewer line on the north side of Pratt Street in Sheffield Township. That line is old, it's made of clay, it's breaking apart, it leaks all the time. There are 8 households that will directly benefit. The other project is the extension of the municipal water line in Columbus Township along North and East Streets, goes down around the corner around by the township building. In that area, people just have on-lot wells, and not too many of them are functioning well. The water quality has been tested in its core, and so this has been a long time coming. This will directly benefit 10 households. The amount contributed for this project will be a total of $77,950, although only $78,975 will come from the fiscal 2020 contract. And the Pratt Street water line in Sheffield, or sewage line, will be $130,625. And that leaves $44,252 for program administration, which includes my time for administering the program, the many ads I have to put in the newspaper, any travel, any education, conferences, etc., that I'm required to go to. The third project was that was proposed and there wasn't sufficient funding for was improving the stormwater system in Clarendon Borough on Center Street. That project will benefit 19 households. The current pipes are too small for capacity. The residents of that area have called me for years complaining that their yards flood on both sides of the street after a heavy rain. So they want to put in a larger line and better storm drains. The commissioners agreed to fund that project partially using some 2019 funds that are unexpended, and also 2021 for the following year. So we're going to support them with engineering for that project so they can get started with that before the 2021 next year's application. So good projects, well needed, I would say, in the health and safety realm of life. Are there any questions on these projects? Yes, sir.
How many were submitted altogether?
There was one other project, so I'll say 4.
4 of them.
There was another one to replace a sanitary sewer pump station in Clarendon Borough. And that was basically deemed unfeasible within the time frame that we had. We would have to send an income survey to the hundreds of people who were on that sanitary sewer line to see if the project qualifies. And I believe they have sufficient funding to do it themselves, but they thought they'd look for grant money if they could.
Is 4 usually the typical number?
It varies. No,
20?
no.
No, no.
Half a dozen
2 to
is the
6.
very,
2 to
very
6.
most, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So these were good projects. I was glad they were decent amounts. I mean, I've had years where we've split the money to 6 different projects, and that's a administrative nightmare. So just having 2 is a beautiful thing. Thank you. Any other questions?
Any other questions or comments pertaining to the 2020 allocation of CDBG funds? Hearing none, we will adjourn the public hearing. Now, moving on to the main event. I will call the Commissioners' meeting of September 9th to order. And please stand and join me in the moment of assuming a pledge of allegiance and then a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The meeting is being recorded. I'm not aware of any executive sessions since the last time we
No.
met. Yeah, we were going to have one and then didn't. We will be having one
The 14th,
on the
Monday.
14th to discuss litigation. And a fuller disclosure will be made at the next meeting. Correspondence, incoming and outgoing. We received a letter noting the voluntary dissolution of Habitat for Humanity. Wanted to take a moment to thank them for all the work that they've done over the years. Second, we received a letter from the USDA since the last meeting indicating that we had been approved finally for the USDA Community Facilities Grant. This is important because it was going to pay for quite a few Sheriff's Office equipment and as well as some for 911 Center. Very grateful for that. And then finally, the PCCD let us know that we tentatively were awarded the pretrial application that we sent back in the March timeframe. So very excited to potentially having pretrial services offered here in the county. So thanks very much to Aaron Huber and the probation staff for pushing that over the goal line. This time I'd ask if there's any public comment. Hearing none. On the agenda today, we have the minutes from August 26th public hearing and public meeting, and then finance report and 2 proclamations, notably the one for national truck drivers, and then MATP agreement, Kylander Holdings LLC for a refund of an appeal error, appointments to the library board, and at least a discussion on CARES Act funding. Did we miss anything from the agenda? Nothing. Did the minutes meet with your approval?
I would make the motion to
Oh,
approve.
sorry, I'll get to the
Oh,
consent.
sorry about that, consent, yes, got it, forgot about that.
If there's no edits, I'll turn to Eric Kern for the finance report.
You have the finance report in front of you. The general fund has about $882,000 in it. The bank, your bank account has $650. We did make a transfer you signed off on earlier in the week, or end of last week, so that these numbers were done before that. I don't think we'll have to borrow off the TAN the remainder of the year, so that's good. On the USDA grant, I did want to just mention that there will probably be some more paper, some more final paperwork coming through on that, but it's, when you see it, it's just the same project, it's just more fun paperwork. That's all I have.
Any questions for Eric? Eric, did you also have the HR report as part of your, could you go ahead and look over the?
Oh, it's just in terms of the monthly report.
Yep, within your monthly report.
Did you want me to just go through it or just reference the report?
Just the HR report.
Hang on one second. Just want me to go through the stats? Is that how you'd like me to read?
Just
audit?
the new hire separations and terminations, like usual.
I don't have it, you don't have it on broken out like that. It's-
Yeah, no, it's right here. I mean, new hires, there was one new correctional officer.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Um,
Yeah. We have one new hire in August, there's one part-time corrections officer for the jail. We have one full-time law clerk separated from the courts, in current open positions. We have full and part-time deputy sheriff's positions. We have two full-time E911 telecommunicator positions, full-time public defender, part-time finance administrator, part-time building specialist, 3 part-time correction officers, full-time children youth administrative assistant, clerk typist, EI for early intervention, and a part-time clerical in the voluntary office.
Very good, thank you. You'll see in your packets for the first time, monthly department reports. We started off this initiative of having departments, at least the ones that report to the commissioners, submit a monthly report on what they did in the prior month. That includes any major accomplishments or projects, any needs, monthly statistics, relevant correspondence or litigation that we should be aware of, that sort of thing. Not all of the departments were able to meet with the commissioners and get something in our packet for this month, but I thought it was a stellar start. I'm very appreciative of the time and effort that all the department heads put into it, as well as Pam Mappy for coordinating it all. So we did get one from the jail in terms of statistics of who was in prison in the last month, and the community service hours worked. IT, we have 87 tickets in the last month. Give an update on major projects, finance as well, planning and zoning, assessment, veterans affairs, public safety. So very pleased with the start. Oh, and the coroner's office as well, and children and youth. So great start. Any questions regarding the department head updates? Hearing none, we'll move on to proclamations. First, Remembrance and Commemoration for September 11th, and then second of all, National Truck Driver Appreciation Week. I'll read the first. Commissioner Dervinch, would you read the second?
Yep.
Whereas it has been 19 years since the unimaginable became believable, the Twin Towers fell, United Flight 93 crashed at the Pentagon, and the Pentagon was damaged, and Americans united through the emotions of loss, determination, and dedication of those who diligently labored to restore order and honor. And whereas daily in Warren County, our dedicated volunteer and paid firefighters, police officers, emergency medical technicians, fire police, and other public servants are on call for whatever arises. Whereas Warren County remembers those lives lost on September 11th, 2001, we honor those men and women who helped keep us safe. The total number of lives lost was 2,977, 265 on 4 planes, 2,606 in the World Trade Center and surrounding area, and 125 at the Pentagon. There were over 6,000 people injured. Therefore, be it resolved that Warren County recognizes Friday, September 11th, 2020 as a day of commemoration and remembrance for all those who perform their duties with great resolve, who honorably serve and at times commit themselves to the ultimate sacrifice, and who have given their lives to provide for our safekeeping, preserve our democracy, and protect our freedom. Adopted this day, 9th day of September 2020. Any comments? Commissioner Durbin?
National Truck Driver Appreciation Week. Whereas this week, the Warren County Commissioners, along with CrossFit Inc. and the entire trucking industry, are beginning a week-long celebration of the millions of professional truck drivers who deliver America's freight safely and securely every day. Our nation's professional truck drivers literally deliver for America every day. We are happy to take this week to recognize their hard work and dedication to the American people during National Truck Driver Appreciation Week. Whereas celebrated annually, this year's National Truck Driver Appreciation Week runs from September 13th through September 19th. There are more than 3.5 million professional truck drivers nationwide, including 150 in Pennsylvania, New York, and Ohio working for CrossFit, delivering all of life's essential goods from fuel to food, medicine to clothing. The average truck driver will drive over 100,000 miles per year and deliver roughly 70% of all freight moved in the United States. Now therefore, we the Warren County Commissioners ask you to join them and CrossFit Inc. and recognize the significant contributions our professional truck drivers make to our lives. Their efforts contribute directly to our quality of life and truly move America forward. Adopted this 9th day of September 2020.
We're honored to have in attendance today 4 employees of CrossFit. Would any of you want to say anything?
Thank you for recognizing CrossFit. Our drivers work really hard, as well as other drivers, and during these times it's been very difficult, and everybody's worked extra hard to make sure everybody has what they need.
Thank you very much for your service. Now normally we would ask you to come up and get a picture with us. I'm not sure if we should even bother attempting that or anything.
Maybe not.
But what we would like to do is post a picture of it on our county Facebook page, and let me give you the signed version now.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thanks for coming to our meeting.
As a person who receives lots of goods and uses fuel, I appreciate all of you very much.
Thank you.
So with that, I would ask for a motion to approve the agenda, the minutes from public hearing, public meeting, finance report, the monthly department reports, and the 2 proclamations.
I will make the motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor, please state aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you very much. All right, on to new business. You will find an agreement before us from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, specifically the Department of Human Services, Bureau of Managed Care Operations for the Division of Medical Assistance Transportation, between us and them, to provide medical assistance transportation. So this is an annual agreement that we have to pass to MATP, and Cox is the one that carries it out.
Commissioner Kaplan, I apologize for interrupting, but I don't believe that there's anything that requires my attention for the remainder of the meeting. Is it okay if I sign off?
We're going to discuss CARES Act.
Okay, I'll stay on then.
Let me do this.
Why don't we move that to the top?
Yeah, why don't we just take a quick vote on the MATP thing and move right on to CARES, and you can decide if you want to jump off then.
Okay.
Can you go ahead and pull up the email that I sent you at about 12 o'clock with the Excel sheet? All right, could I have a motion to approve the MATP agreement?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion made, seconded, discussion. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay, so CARES Act. What I sent to you, feel free to pass one to Daniel, for you, Pam, for reference. Okay, so the county received, in terms of CARES Act funding, $3,539,294. We had a letter come in from the House of Representatives asking how we had allocated that. Of course, we had generally talked in terms of approximately $2 million for small business and nonprofits, $1 million for government, fire, EMS, whether that's local government or county government, and then $70,000 in terms of administration, and then $500,000 for broadband. When that letter came in, we did a couple little adjustments just based on where we were at and what we were seeing in terms of need in the community, and we're not committed fully to this yet, but at least on paper, we've now upped the amount for the small business and nonprofit grant program up pretty close to $2.2 million, and cut back the government, fire, EMS side a little bit, as well as broadband. Still kind of we're still going to have to see if broadband comes to fruition. But anyway, what I wanted to draw your attention to today is at least a progress update and hopefully a few smaller approvals on the government bucket. So I broke it out into fire and EMS as one, municipal reimbursements and projects, county PPE and wages, and information technology requests. So the first sheet you'll see is $200,000 is what I'm proposing for all fire and EMS related. Now, 700 of that you already approved with the I Am Responding program, and 30,000 we've already allocated towards everything else. In work session, we had talked about doing something for the fire departments. After talking with the Department of Public Safety staff, my recommendation is to ask the fire departments to look at their books and see what kind of loss they have and authorize up to $5,000 in revenue loss. There is no other way for them to get the revenue loss. In fact, some of them are 501c4s. My suggestion would be to have the county cover that under general fund and or the Erie Bank account. I believe was Commissioner Evanston's recommendation. So that's 5 of those. Again, and Commissioner Durbin suggested that we at minimum get some sort of a letter stating that they did in fact have that kind of a loss. At the same time, we're kind of breaking them out separately due to their uniqueness in that they, of any organizations, have really been affected by COVID probably the most in terms of not only revenue loss from their many fundraisers that they were not able to have, but also the fact that they were the boots on the ground actually responding to calls, using the PPE and that sort of thing. So do you have any thoughts on sheet 1 here before I move on?
I do not.
Would it be all right if I went ahead then and asked for departments to submit letters requesting up to $5,000 due to revenue loss? It wouldn't be a final approval, but obviously that would be an indication to them that that's what they could ask for.
Yeah, I think in the same way that we have the application process for the businesses, that there should be some type of process where they at least provide a letter kind of stating their financial loss. And, because obviously this is something that's very important that we help them with and help take care of them.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it just provides a nice audit trail for them to show to us that they have been harmed and that, that's the amount. So I think I'm supportive of them sending the letters.
There are a couple other things that I would draw your attention to. The COG Fire Services would like to run a EMS recruitment campaign, if you would, which includes quite a few videos from small 30-second kind of commercials to full-blown interviews and such, and then run those on Facebook. I don't know the specifics of all of it, but I did receive a request for $6,125 from the COG Fire Services to be run through the WCDA, the 501c3, to run such an EMS campaign. That proposal is ready to go, so if the total amount within the government allocation for fire and EMS meets with your approval, could I go ahead and let them know that they could move forward with that?
Is that something that needs multiple proposals or not?
It wouldn't. They have this one vendor that they use, they have previously used for everything else, the COG Fire Services, which is their recommendation. If you would like, I could certainly ask that they,
Just a suggestion. It's,
Yeah.
I mean, that was a question more than anything.
yeah.
I support Commissioner Eggleston's observation. It's similar to the rest of the application process that we're going with the BLA and the FRA. You know, the fire departments, you know, work with that process. You know.
Sure, that's separate though. What I'm talking about right now is COG Fire Services, which doesn't have any revenue per se. They can't prove any revenue loss, for instance. This is a separate campaign specifically targeted at increasing the number of EMS personnel in the county, which were particularly hit hard because so many of the EMTs in the county were told by their doctors due to their age or other conditions not to respond to EMS calls. So they're really feeling a shortage of EMS in the county, and as a consequence, this would be one thing that would help all the departments in terms of recruitment. So,
I'm fine. Just so you know, I'm fine with the idea of having a marketing campaign to recruit EMS personnel. That's been a challenge. It'll be a challenge. You know, hopefully something like this would put a dent in that.
okay. We'd previously, Commissioner Gervin, anything more? On the sheriff's office, they had previously requested funding in order to have their some of their sheriff's office become trained EMRs. I think that actually could be covered. I don't know why I didn't think of this earlier, but it could probably be covered under a different funding stream. But should they move forward with it, I assume we still have the general nod to cover their costs pertaining to getting educated.
What is an EMR?
Emergency medical responder, it's lower than a level of EMT. EMT takes about 180 hours of training, and they are then licensed to handle, run a BLS truck, a basic life support truck, but an EMR is only capable of being second medical on that rig or driver or running a quick response unit. So in other words, if the sheriff's office were to start responding to calls, which they actually already do, but they would actually then be certified as quick response unit. And in a rare circumstance, you could see them actually jumping on an ambulance and like driving it or something like that, since they're qualified to do that through EVOC. It'd be a very rare instance, I would assume, but I also would think that those people would also become volunteer EMT or EMRs in their local departments as well. So it's not a request exactly today for general expenditure or anything. I just wanted to, I guess, bring that back to the forefront. Another thing that we would like to do is get UV disinfecting wands for each of the departments. That's the next line item. They're about $120 to $150 a piece. And then if we had remaining funding at in a while, I'm not asking for any approval on this today, then I would suggest putting some additional funds towards EMS Council and Fire School. But again, that's just something drafted on paper, not a request today. The next sheet is on government allocation for municipal services. At the last two COG meetings, I have asked if there were any expenditures or projects that the municipalities had. I have currently only been presented with two, and they're both from the city of Warren. One would be for expenses. Currently, they've spent, well, as of a few weeks ago, they spent $10,000 on eligible expenses and asked for reimbursement. And they think that they'll have another 10 or so in the coming couple of months. They've also asked to mirror our emergency operations center in terms of technology, so that first of all, in the event that we have to reactivate the emergency operations center, we can spread our people out, have half of them at the city EOC and half of them at our county EOC. And personally, I think that would be a phenomenal idea. More details to come. I'm not asking for anything today, just kind of keeping you up to date on that bucket. The next, we already approved training for project management, particularly pertaining to COVID projects. We've already approved carpet cleaning and sanitation, and we've already approved a body scanner, or at least a portion of that body scanner being paid for through CARES Act. The next on there is the COOP plant, the Continuity of Government Operations. I got a quote from MCM Consulting for almost $80,000 in order to update it. It really does need to be updated. We've tried internally several times, unsuccessfully. MCM is currently doing them with, I believe, almost all of our neighboring counties, and we've used them previously. But I wanted to bring it up. Again, I think that a COOP plan is something that we definitely need to update. We have a COOP plan, but it's significantly outdated. I believe it was drafted really before technology was as big as it is, or before there was many options as there are now in terms of technological remote work. But I still bring it up for consideration. You could give me the nod to go ahead and hire MCM, or I welcome your feedback on what to do next.
I'd love to see their proposal.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, that would be great.
So I'll send you the proposal, and then is it something you think we could possibly vote on in a couple weeks, or would you want to try to get other?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I'll send you the proposal after the meeting, and we'll put it on the agenda for the following meeting. Next is information technology. Oh, and by the way, I missed in between there's one more that I did not bother printing out because it was rather lengthy, and that is just a list of all the PPE and wages that have currently been spent on the COVID response, and that totals, actually without the wages, that totals $40,000. So that includes everything from the jury boxes here to individual PPE, I can't remember all the other things off the top of my head, but they're all the little things that added up to $40,000. So those are things that are already spent, and I mean, I do anticipate more, but there's no like big ticket item that I think deserves attention right now. On to information technology, a bunch of these I actually would like to get approved today if we could. So the Department of Public, first of all, the auditors have requested a few laptops. I believe all of the laptops that I listed here, first of all, they're not a complete list of everybody who's requested a laptop, but they are computers that should be at the end of life, so they're due for replacement relatively soon anyway. So scanners, there's various equipment that would just be bought off the shelf for doing videos. We've had to hire all of that out when we've needed to do them, and the county itself doesn't actually own any real video equipment, so I think it would be beneficial to have at least a portion of those things, I guess up to the amount listed. The Human Services Department has requested multiple Surface Pros, which includes Adobe Signature and Office. So that's a total of $57,225, correct, Rhonda? Okay. So that is one that I'm actually asking you to approve today. The quote's in hand. Assessment has requested updates to their vision software to better enable remote work and allow people access to the vision software so that we don't have to have as much in-person traffic. Department of Public Safety has requested Surface Pros and laptops for a total of everyone in management. I think the quote just says one, but it actually would mean 2 laptops and 2 Surface Pros. That is another one that I'd like to get approval on today. Actually, it's assessment software as well. ID printer, we had an issue in that when there was talk about shutting down the roads and restricting access and stuff, we had to make ID badges for fire departments and EOC personnel and that sort of thing, and we were not easily able to do that, so they're asking for an ID printer, a laptop for the treasurer's office, a phone position for 911, and that is in order to facilitate them. So currently you've all been in the 911 center. Those dispatchers are all pretty close. We bought this additional phone position. We could actually set them out in another room or even off site so that they'd be completely separate from the others for social distancing purposes. Laptop for elections, laptop for tax claim, several laptops for the district attorney's office, one for a registered reporter, and an iPad to do interviews for domestic relations, for a grand total of $145,046. So if the board is amenable to that, I would like to get approval, actual official approval, to move forward with these expenditures, at least up to these expenditures. I think they're all reasonable and necessary. There are more laptops to come, but otherwise this is pretty much, these are probably the triage most important technology needs, at least in my opinion. If I could draw your attention back, by the way, just real quick to the front page. I already decreased the government section by $200,000 and added that small business. And currently there's still a couple $100,000 kind of in reserve in that bucket. So there's plenty of funding, and again, I've already reallocated a significant portion to your priorities.
We talked about $500,000.
Well, what I'm asking for approval today, essentially.
I mean, all of this together is that.
Oh, yeah. Everything that I just talked
Yeah.
through totals $587,611. In terms of what's already been spent, yeah, really half of that's already been spent, actually.
I think in the event that there's another shutdown that in the fall, as we hear constantly, we definitely should take action on those laptops because,
Right.
you know, children are in school, people are sitting close together. So I'm certainly in favor.
Jeff, any more thoughts?
What? So, well, the first thing is with the assessment software, my only issue with that is that, you know, I had a conversation with Brian about trying to get quotes for Tyler or working with Eric to kind of engage Tyler and see what we can get as far, you know, and any other options, just because we're not very satisfied with Vision. So I kind of am hesitant to include that today, just because I think that there needs to be more review of that.
Okay.
I guess my second thing is I just want to be careful of what is being approved, because I don't know exactly what type of vote you're looking to get. I've just received this information, so I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page as what we're voting for.
Yeah, so
are
we'll go ahead and strike or table Vision. So I guess on that sheet for information technology, I'm asking for approval to go ahead and issue purchase orders for the iPad, laptops, phone position.
everything else
IDs.
that's on that sheet?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, so
Tabled that, it would take it down to just under 100,000. Take out Vision.
96,846. Okay.
Yep.
Because I think everything else seems straightforward. My only issue is to make sure that we are replacing computers with laptops, that we're not buying more laptops.
Right.
You know, I just want that to be clear that these folks are getting laptops, that their desktops are going away, that, you know, because otherwise we're just adding more long-term costs, because those will have to be maintained and yada, yada, yada.
That will definitely be conveyed to IT, and I'm sure they will have no problem with that.
Agreed.
Okay. Okay, with that said, I'm fine with everything that's on that sheet.
Okay. Well, I suppose it doesn't hurt to formalize it with a motion, so why don't I entertain a motion to approve purchase orders for the information technology listed on before you, sans vision software.
I'll make a motion to approve the purchases listed on the information technology page, which total $96,846 to be made with CARES Act funding.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion and second. All those in favor, please state aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right, I think that's it for CARES. I think you're correct, Commissioner Eggleston, that the rest is, well, there's just two things at this point. So feel free to hang on if you want or not.
Okay. Yeah, the only other thing that I just wanted to let you guys know is I'm still trying to put together a proposal for a tourism-related marketing initiative that would be CARES eligible. I'm not, obviously I'm not going to hold anything up if I can't get it done, but I just wanted to make you aware that I'm still trying to work on that. And that's it.
Okay, yes, I have that noted in the sort of scratch paper side of the CARES Act. There's no proposal yet, so there's no dollar figure. But yeah, I'm aware of it.
Alright, with that, I will sign off because everybody's starting to yell at me because I'm supposed to be in the pool right now and I have not shown up yet.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us.
I will see you later. Have a good rest of the week.
Yep, bye.
Bye.
All right, next before us, we have a request that came from the assessment office. I believe we, in error, misassessed a property owned by Kylander Holdings LLC. The excess amount of $357.35. So the request, I'm sorry.
That was it.
Oh, it was the difference. Okay, I'm sorry. The assessment office is asking that we refund Kylander Holdings in the amount of $413.64. Could I have a motion to do so?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. Oh, here's more detail. This is in reference to property whiskey November 588-255-0000001. Excuse me, 000. Okay. Any questions? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, appointments to the library board. We received a letter from the library board on September 1st asking that we appoint to the library board Andrew Pachetti at 304 Prospect and Bob Crowley, which would be a reappointment at 1132 Quaker Hill. Any questions? If not, could I have a motion to approve?
Not here, and I will make the motion to approve those two appointments to the Warren Public Library.
I'll second. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Commissioner comments?
None.
All right, and I assume we need to get moving, so
Yes.
I'll move to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you
There we
very
go.
much.